Hello everybody, I'm Gabriel Balin, Product Manager for LIMSABC, and today I'm going to show you our analytics that we have been working in the last few months. These lab operational analytics give good insights into how the lab is functioning and allows you to see any irregularities and to see different trends. Generally, on how the analytics are structured, at the top you will have a filtering criteria for each of the analytics that we have. We have the turnaround, the received, rejected, the volume, the client delivery, and the screening versus confirmation. The filtering criteria, depending on the analytics, will allow you to filter based on the department, based on the client, based on the client side. On some analytics, you can also filter based on the sample type, the service group, and maybe the panel. The other option you have here on the filtering area is you can see either the day view or the month view. This allows you to be granular at specific days or just high level at the month. The other thing you can specify is the last day for the chart. So the last date or month will correspond to the last bar chart on the different charts. So all of the charts that show you multiple days or months will have the last day specified here in this section. So if I switch to a monthly view, I will be able to choose my last month, and now I will be able to see on a monthly level. On the right side here, you have quick numbers for that month. It will give you, specifically on the turnaround report, will give you the work in progress. This is how many samples have still um, not been finished, how many have met the SLA, how many were close to the SLA. Close to SLA means within 10% of the SLA. So if you're getting close to the SLA of 24 hours, close to SLA means within the last part of the 24 hours, the last 10%. And over SLA, everything that is over 24 hours. Going specifically on these charts, the turnaround, this is based on the month, and the last month is May. The first one shows you percentage, so every day is the same because it's at 100%. So it shows you how many were over the SLA and how many met the SLA relative to um, their percentage, whereas the one on the right side shows you actual volumes, right? So this shows me how many were meeting or how many did not meet the SLA based on the actual volume. Now, one thing you can do here, you can actually click on these legends. So if I want to take out the ones that met the SLA, I click and it will refresh both of my charts. If I want to take the ones that are close to the SLA, I can do that as well. And now I have a very nice chart of how many I was over my SLA. Not only that, I can actually take out the over the SLA, and now this will give me how many samples I still have in process. So you can see in this case, I have still 5 samples that were never approved from June of 2022, and you can see all of that. So this way, even though it's a turnaround report, you can easily see and make sure all of the samples are being released and every sample is being dealt with. So if I switch back to my daily this, I actually can see at the day level where I missed to where the lab missed to process certain samples. Let me just put this back and scroll down. This gives you a breakdown based on the panels, so you can see at the panel level which panel takes uh, more. So you can see in this one is my viral is doing good, and then the urinary tract infection takes most of the time. So there is something wrong with the UTI. Maybe it requires some investigation. The other thing you can get based on the filtering, you actually get the data. So now you can look at the data and you can download the data if you need to do any more troubleshooting. Going into the received rejected, this shows you a breakdown very similar in terms of filtering like the turnaround report, a breakdown of how many samples have been received by day in this case, and how many samples have been not received and how many have been rejected. So you can actually see the not received is a very good indication that samples were placed in the system, orders were placed in the system, but they were never received. So this gives you a breakdown based on the client, so you can actually see maybe there is a client that is placing a lot of orders but not really sending the samples. The same thing for rejected, you will be able to see, and this is empty because I have nothing rejected on 31st. So if I switch to my 30th, then this will show me what happened on May the 30th in terms of rejected. So you can see trends in certain clients sending you samples in a condition that makes you reject those samples. So it's good to identify problematic samples received, but you have to reject them, and samples that have not really been received. So maybe there is a courier issue, there is some other type of issue that can be dealt with. So samples collected from the patient do make it to the lab. And the same thing, you have the export to Excel, so you can uh, uh, analyze the data more, or you can share the data with clients. The volume report, very similar, gives you volume by different categories. So it gives you the volume based on how many samples were collected, how many samples were received, and how many samples were approved within the specified period. So I'm looking at daily view, and my last day is May the 30th, right here. So this one gives you that view, and it gives you by the sample, by the client as well. So you can analyze the data in different ways. In this case, you have a way to actually filter based on the sample type and based on the survey group. So you can be more granular. The same way on all of the charts that we have, you can take out different things and you can see your volume of approved in this case, or if I want to see how many received, then I can take everything else. So it gives you a good data, and the same thing, you can export the data at the end. One more thing I want to mention is that you can always maximize this chart. So if you want to take a look at this one in particular, you can maximize it, and then you can even download if you need to as an image to use it in different presentations for internal consumptions or client consumption. And this is applicable to every chart. The client delivery um, dashboard allows you to see how long it takes for samples to be received in the lab. So this is more of a delivery turnaround. So from collection to receiving lab. Um, if samples take longer from the collection to the lab, that affects the turnaround, that affects the stability. So you can easily see where the problems are. Very similar to the turnaround report, it just gives a better breakdown of the different intervals. So you can see how long it took, which ones took less than 6 hours, between 6 and 12, 12 and 18 hours, 12 and 24, 24 and 48. And then here you get everything greater than 2 days to receive. Now we also have this part where it shows you the volume, right? So this is actual numbers, this is percentage, but if you scroll down here, I have a chart breaking down a little bit more on the delivery. So there are samples in the system that took more than 7 days to be received, and those are by client. So you can have a more analysis to see why it takes so long for certain clients to get the samples. Maybe it's a courier issue, maybe it's a transport. Really, a lot of things can affect how long it takes for the sample from collection to being received. Maybe you're received, maybe they're being received physically in the lab, but they're not being received in the system. So that affects what the system knows. Either way, you can filter down the same way I mentioned. If you want to take certain things out, and you can um, see more granular the values that you're interested in, and you can also export um, the data to Excel, and you can analyze or share with your clients. The screening versus confirmation, which is the last analytics here, shows you for the toxicology specifically, shows you different comparisons between the positive results and the negative results. And this will give you how many screening were positives versus how many were a negative, and then it actually gives you the percentage from 100%, and it gives you actual volumes. And then the same thing for the confirmation. You can get how many positives and how many negatives, and you actually have the different data here to look by the different tests that were done. So this way you can look at the lab results and see if you're having an outstanding number of positives or a low number of positive confirmation versus screening confirmation, and you can identify different issues. With our new analytics, we can also build new custom analytics specific for the lab. So if anybody is interested in any custom analytics that show based on the process in the lab and based on the clients, we can definitely build those analytics, and just contact our support. With that, I want to thank you, and I will see you in the next one.